Have you ever felt extremely nervous in social situations? It's a feeling that many of us can relate to, yet it's often misunderstood. This feeling, when it becomes intense and persistent, can be indicative of a condition known as social anxiety. Social anxiety, also known as social phobia, is more than just shyness or occasional nervousness. It's a strong fear of being judged by others, a fear so intense that it can disrupt daily life, inhibit academic and career success, and limit the enjoyment of social activities. It's a fear that can make ordinary interactions feel incredibly daunting. Imagine feeling an overwhelming sense of dread at the thought of attending a party or even a small gathering. Imagine feeling your heart race and your palms sweat at the prospect of meeting new people or speaking in public. This is the reality for many people living with social anxiety. It's a condition that can make the world feel like a very intimidating place. Now, it's important to distinguish between normal nervousness and social anxiety. Feeling a little anxious before a big presentation or a first date is normal. It's a natural response to situations where we might be judged or scrutinized, but social anxiety is different. It's not just about feeling uncomfortable in the spotlight, it's about feeling uncomfortable all the time, fearing judgment in every interaction, big or small. Social anxiety is also more common than you might think. It affects millions of people around the world, across all ages, genders, and walks of life. It's a condition that doesn't discriminate, and yet it's often overlooked and misunderstood, leaving many people feeling isolated and alone in their struggle. The impact of social anxiety on a person's life can be profound. It can hold people back from pursuing opportunities, forming relationships, and living a fulfilling life. But the good news is, it's a condition that can be managed and overcome with the right help and support. Now let's uncover the signs of social anxiety. Because understanding is the first step towards healing, towards creating a world where no one has to feel alone in their fear. Do you fear being judged or criticized in social situations? This question may seem rather straightforward, but for those experiencing social anxiety, it cuts deep. Imagine that you're at a social gathering. The room is buzzing with chatter and laughter, but instead of joining in the fun, you're standing in a corner, sweating profusely, your heart pounding in your chest. Why? Because you're afraid. Afraid of what others might think of you. Afraid of being judged or criticized. This intense fear of judgment is a hallmark of social anxiety. It's as if you're on a stage under a spotlight with a critical audience watching your every move. You become hyper-aware of yourself, of your words, your actions, even your silence. You constantly worry about making a mistake, saying something wrong, or simply being yourself. You fear that any misstep might invite criticism or ridicule. This fear isn't just uncomfortable, it's paralyzing. It can stop you from speaking up in meetings, from making new friends, from enjoying social settings. It can even make everyday interactions like ordering a coffee or making small talk with a neighbor feel like insurmountable challenges. But it's important to understand that this fear isn't a reflection of reality. It's a distortion, a magnification of potential judgment. Most people are far too preoccupied with their own lives to scrutinize your every move. Yet the fear persists, fueling a cycle of avoidance and isolation. Understanding this fear is the first step towards managing it. It's not about eliminating the fear entirely, that's unrealistic. But it's about learning to navigate social situations with less dread, less self-scrutiny, and more self-compassion. So if you find yourself constantly worrying about what others think, constantly fearing judgment or criticism, remember this: you are not alone. Many people experience these feelings, and there are ways to cope. You don't have to let fear rule your life or your social interactions. If you constantly worry about others' opinions, you might be experiencing social anxiety. Do you often find yourself avoiding social events or gatherings? Now that's a question that might resonate with many of us. This avoidance is not about being an introvert or cherishing your alone time. We're talking about a consistent pattern of steering clear of social situations due to a sense of overwhelming fear or anxiety. This is a common sign of social anxiety. When we say avoidance of social situations, we're referring to a broad range of scenarios. This could be anything from declining an invitation to a party, skipping a work meeting, or even something as routine as not going to the grocery store at peak hours to avoid crowds. In severe cases, individuals might even isolate themselves completely, limiting their interactions to the bare minimum. This avoidance is often driven by a fear of being judged or embarrassed. For someone battling social anxiety, the mere thought of engaging in a social situation can trigger intense anxiety. They might worry about saying something wrong, not being able to keep up with the conversation, or simply being perceived as awkward. It's like being trapped in a vicious cycle of fear and avoidance. This pattern of avoidance can significantly limit a person's experiences and relationships. Imagine missing out on a friend's wedding, an office promotion, or even just the joy of casual conversation with a neighbor. It's not just about missing events, it's about missing opportunities, connections, and experiences that make life rich and fulfilling. Moreover, avoidance doesn't solve the problem, it only suppresses it. It's like putting a band-aid on a wound that needs stitches. The anxiety remains, often growing stronger over time, as the individual continues to avoid situations that trigger it. Understanding this pattern of avoidance is the first step towards addressing it. It's crucial to recognize that this behavior is not a personal failing or a character flaw. It's a sign of a deeper issue that needs attention and care. So, if you notice yourself or someone else consistently avoiding social situations due to fear or anxiety, remember, avoidance is not a solution, but a sign of a deeper issue. It's a call to action, a nudge to seek help and address the underlying social anxiety. Do you experience physical symptoms like sweating, trembling, or a racing heart in social situations? If your answer is yes, then it's essential to know that these are not uncommon when it comes to social anxiety. Physical symptoms often accompany social anxiety, acting as a tangible manifestation of the internal turmoil that one might be experiencing. These symptoms can range from mild to severe, varying depending on the individual and the situation. Some people might feel their heart racing or their palms might get clammy. Others might experience trembling, an upset stomach, or even feel dizzy. These symptoms occur because our body's fight or flight response gets activated in situations we perceive as threatening. This response is part of our natural survival instinct and is our body's way of preparing us for potential danger. However, with social anxiety, this response can be triggered by social situations that are not genuinely threatening. For those with social anxiety, this danger could be the potential for embarrassment, judgment, or rejection in a social setting. As a result, the body prepares to either confront the situation or escape from it, leading to these physical symptoms. These physical symptoms can, in turn, fuel the cycle of social anxiety. They can increase the fear of being judged or embarrassed, as one might worry that others will notice these symptoms and react negatively. This fear can lead to further avoidance of social situations, which only serves to reinforce the social anxiety. So if you find yourself sweating profusely before a presentation, or your heart pounding at the thought of attending a party, know that it's not just nerves. It could be a sign of social anxiety. Remember, recognizing these signs is the first step towards managing social anxiety. There are various coping strategies and treatments available, including cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness techniques, and even medication for more severe cases. Physical symptoms are your body's response to perceived danger, even in seemingly harmless social settings. Understanding this can help you to manage these symptoms and navigate social situations more comfortably. Do you overthink your interactions or struggle with conversations? This question may resonate with many of you, and if it does, you're not alone. Overthinking social interactions and having difficulty initiating or maintaining conversations are common signs of social anxiety. Imagine you're at a party, you meet someone new, you exchange pleasantries, and then you part ways. But instead of moving on, you find yourself replaying the conversation in your head. Did you say the right things? Did they find you interesting? Were you too quiet or too loud? This constant analysis, the what-ifs and should-haves, this is overthinking. It's like a hamster on a wheel in your mind, going round and round, but never really getting anywhere. Now let's talk about initiating or maintaining conversations. You may find it hard to start a conversation, fearing that you might say something inappropriate or uninteresting. And even when a conversation gets going, it might feel like an uphill battle to keep it flowing. The silence that follows a conversation's natural ebb and flow can feel like a gaping abyss, filled with pressure to say something, anything to fill the void. These issues can make social situations more stressful and uncomfortable. Overthinking can lead to self-doubt, while difficulty in conversations can result in avoidance of social situations altogether. This creates a cycle where social anxiety feeds on itself, making it harder to break free. However, recognizing these signs is the first step towards managing social anxiety. Awareness can lead to understanding, and understanding can lead to change. It's important to remember that it's okay to feel anxious and to struggle with conversations. It's not a reflection of your worth or your abilities. It's simply a part of the unique way your mind works. Overthinking and conversational struggles can isolate you further, but understanding these signs is the first step towards managing social anxiety. With patience, practice, and perhaps professional help, you can navigate these challenges and make your social interactions more enjoyable and less stressful.